Smashboxes! Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are brand spanking new. My name is KristenLeanne. I'm a cruelty-free YouTuber, so everything that you find or see used on my channel is cruelty-free. You guys were asking for an updated foundation routine, so I kind of did an updated foundation / contour routine because they go hand in hand. And then I also mentioned some products, tips, and tricks to prevent yourself from having cake face as well. Oh, my phone's not on silent. And also some tips and tricks on how to prevent your makeup from sliding around on you and staying put in some of those problem areas like your nose and whatnot throughout the day, no matter what you're doing, no matter what your skin type is. So, obviously, like, my skin changes a lot, your skin changes a lot, everyone's skin changes a lot even from week to week. Some products may work for you one week and not work for you the next week. So I'm gonna show you kind of the products that are working really well for me right now. I'll probably need to do another one of these in a few months because new products come out, your skin changes, weather changes, different things that your body is going through. So you kind of need one of these for me every few months, I guess. But I am kind of like a normal skin type. Like, I don't get too oily, but when I do get oily, it is in the T-zone for sure. This video is also very chatty because I have a lot of tips and tricks and stuff. So hopefully you find it useful, and I can't wait to chat with you guys in the comments below. And everything talked about in this video will be in the description box, as well as some products that I'm mentioning that I don't even talk about on the video. So check there for anything that you want to look up or purchase for yourself or just check out in general. And everything will also be on my blog, which is also linked in the description box below. All right, let's get started. Before we put anything on your face, you want to start off with a super clean face. You want to moisturize your face. If you have oily skin, you might be thinking, no, I cannot put moisturizer on my face before I put foundation on. It will make it melt off and slide around, and that is not the case. You're actually just putting on the wrong moisturizer for your skin type. And yes, that is such a thing. If you've never heard of it before, if you have oily skin, you're gonna wanna use a gel-based moisturizer. I don't have it down here, but one of the gel-based moisturizers that I really, really love is the Tarte one, and it'll be linked in the description box below. Tatcha also has one here. This is the one that I have here in my drawer that I use before I put makeup on. It is the water cream, and a gel-based moisturizer is basically just not going to have any super heavy oils or anything in it that's going to make your makeup slide around throughout the day as your face gets a little oilier. Excuse the water heater. Ryan is in the shower, so. Today I'm gonna be doing a super light eye look. So typically I would be doing my eye makeup before I'm doing any of the things that I'm doing right now and putting on my base and all that. But I'm gonna do a really light eye look today, so I'm just gonna do my foundation first, which works out better for this video anyway. Next, you're gonna wanna use a primer that works for your skin type. Not all primers are made the same. So there are plenty of primers out there that are made for people with oily skin. They are mattifying primers, and then there are primers out there for people who have either dry to normal skin types. So you can even get two and do, like, if you have an oily T-zone, you can put that there. I don't have any right here because I don't actually have oily skin. However, I have a couple of these. I have the Custom Blot Drops Oil Control by Cover FX, where you would put where you get oily. I know NYX has a really good mattifying primer, and so does, I think every makeup line. Like, any makeup line you like, there's going to be a primer out there for your skin type. You just gotta find it. So you can find that, but today I'm gonna be using the Tarte Clean Slate Poreless 12-Hour Perfecting Primer. I find that this is a good one for people with oily skin as well, because it lasts for 12 hours. It fills in the pores really nicely. It's kind of like an interesting consistency. It kind of feels a little bit like silicone. I just like to lightly rub this over the areas that I notice larger pores. I don't typically put primer all over my face. And if you're somebody that has a problem keeping foundation on your nose area, what you can actually do right now, I would do it after you put your primer on. You can go ahead and put some eyeshadow primer on the nose area, just a thin layer. You don't want to get crazy with it, and just put that there, and it'll actually help give your foundation an extra hold. I will list some of my favorite primers for oily skin and dry skin and all that in the description box below. Also on my blog, it will be listed in kind of like a boutique form where you can actually see the pictures and stuff, because I'm a visual person. Espresso break. I was trying to decide today, I was like, am I gonna film like a how to stick foundation sort of video, or do I want to just do like a non-cakey foundation routine? So I decided to go with that today. But if you guys are interested in seeing like how to master the technique of a stick foundation and the best ones for oily skin, dry skin, all that kind of stuff, I'd love to do that because I've been getting really into stick foundations lately. So right now, this might be a step where you have the urge to cover blemishes with thick concealer if you have any, or any discoloration that you want to correct. You're not gonna wanna do that if you have an issue with cakey foundation. I sometimes will just go in with a little bit of color correcting, which I'm gonna do right now on my eyes. But you're not gonna wanna go ahead and do a super heavy concealer underneath your foundation and rub that in, because it's just going to add more layers and maybe your foundation's gonna cover it. So you just wanna see if it's gonna cover it first. Before I color correct on my eyes, I actually do finish my base and then I go in for the eye area and kind of like correct that and kind of do my concealer and whatnot. So I'm gonna do the face first. If I was worried about these little things showing through my foundation, then I would go ahead and color correct those right now. But I'm not really worried about that. I know my foundation has full coverage enough to cover it. For foundation today, I'm gonna be using the Tarte Empowered Hybrid Gel Foundation in light sand as well as light neutral. I like to mix these together. One's a little more yellow toned, one's a little more pink toned, and I'm kind of like right in the middle. If you're worried about, if you've experienced cakey foundation before as well, you're gonna wanna make sure that you're not using like a super creamy, thick foundation. A couple examples of those would be Urban Decay All Nighter and the Kat Von D foundation. Those are very thick creams, and so is the Becca one. You can still use those, you just wanna cut them with some moisturizer, some of that gel moisturizer that you're using, or a little bit of primer, so that they can be just a little bit smoother and like thinner. Because the thicker your foundation is and the creamier and thicker it is, it's just gonna like stick on your face, and it's going to look thicker and heavier on your face as well. Also, putting a primer on your face, I meant to say this and I totally forgot, is going to help with any, if your foundation oxidizes on you at all, like what that means is you apply it and then a few hours later it is a little bit darker or quite a few shades darker. Putting a barrier between your skin oils and all that and your foundation is gonna prevent that from happening as badly or at all. So to apply foundation, I kind of go through different phases. Sometimes I like to use a brush that I will mist with some sort of a rose water or something. And sometimes I'll use a damp beauty blender. This is a beauty blender from e.l.f. I was talking to you guys about it the other day, I think on Snapchat. And if you were like, you left me hanging, like how's the e.l.f. thing? So it's actually really good. I really like this. It's a little thick up here for under the eyes, but I was using this little guy yesterday for that. So this is an e.l.f. beauty blender. The product is on here, and I like to just grab that and start pressing it into the skin. Now, you're not gonna wanna wipe like this. That's just going to move your foundation around in a way that isn't flattering, in my opinion. And that can also give you a little bit of a cake face if you just gob it on here and just kind of like start rubbing around. You wanna just kind of like lay the foundation and press it into your skin so it covers up any problem areas that you have, and you wanna make sure that this is moist. If this is not moist, it's not gonna blend out very nicely. You can look a little cakey if you're not using a damp beauty blender or sponge of some sort. A lot of times when I'm doing this too, I like to hold a mirror close to my face so that I can see exactly what's going on, because my mirror's kind of far away. So I mean, I don't know where you guys get ready. If you get ready in the bathroom, you're definitely gonna wanna probably get up near some natural lighting and get a mirror and kind of look and see what's going on. One reason I like this foundation a lot too is it's super buildable and it's not too like heavy. So if I'm wanting like more coverage, I can just like add another layer, and it's like super easy to just pop it right on there. It doesn't get messy or gross. Make sure you pull your foundation down around ears, jawline, hairline. Do you need some attention? I'm trying to show everyone how I apply my foundation. What did you need? Want some makeup? No, don't lick that. If you're someone who tends to like to contour a lot and bronze a lot, I would actually use some foundation that's a couple shades lighter or a shade lighter. This will also help in case your foundation oxidizes at all, so that then it matches. So if you see how this is just a little bit different, this is a bit more red. what you can do is, now that your foundation is a little bit lighter, you can go in with a more warm toned bronzer and apply that. And it'll kind of make it all come together. So some of you might remember from one of my last contour videos or foundation videos, I kind of used to contour underneath my foundation. Not always, but like sometimes I would. Right now I've actually been using, where is it? I have been using the NYX Wonder Stick to contour and highlight over my foundation. You want to do this step before you put any powder on your face. Do not go back in and do this after you've put powder on your face. You're going to make a muddy, cakey mess. So this is also the Smashbox step-by-step contour stick in contour. It's kind of dark. So I like to put this just straight over my foundation. The reason why is because as the foundation is like melting into my skin, I'm able to super easily blend this out, and it looks a lot better in my opinion than putting it under, because you can see it a lot more. For this step, I like to use a brush that's not super dense, but that's not like, for instance, I don't like to use one of these for it. I just don't think it has enough pressure in one spot to blend out. But the key to this is I like to moisten the brush. This is actually the Mario Badescu Skincare Facial Spray with Aloe, Herbs, and Rose Water. And then I'll dab that here. And the key to this is really light circular motions. And then it really just melts into your foundation just super seamlessly. You have to be patient with this. But see how that just like melts into the foundation? Just like super easily and nicely. And don't worry if you go too low here. That's one great thing about doing it on top of your foundation too. We can go back in with our beauty blender and kind of go down here and correct a little bit. But really, 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 really light pressure. You don't want to move your foundation around. And I like to get it going down here, but then mostly start diffusing this up here. So the majority of the product is pulled towards the hairline and is not just like right there. Little circular motions up here as well. And don't be afraid to pull this towards your hairline even further, because I've seen people not blend it out properly into their hairline, and it's just like there's their hairline and then a white strip and then their contour, and it doesn't look very natural that way. This is one of my favorite ways to contour. Well, my brush cart's like totally been in this whole thing the whole time. Oh well. I find it really easy to contour my nose this way as well, because it's so easy to correct. Like if you have your foundation on and your powder on and you go in there with powder, not that it can't be done, this is just my preferred method at the moment, and then you try and contour with powder and you put too much of it on there, and then you try and go in with wet foundation over it, you're putting that over powder, and then the cake face is even way worse and way more obvious. So I'll show you the brush, one of the brushes that I like to use. So I've really been liking the Luxie 182 brush, but just something kind of like this, like any little flat or even a round, like sort of eyeshadow brush like this will work for you. I gotta spray this. I like to spray this too. I like to spray everything just so it's not so dry and it's just picking up the foundation. So I just kind of lightly blend this out. And once again, I like to grab a mirror so I can kind of get up here and like see what's going on. So lightly blend that out. You can even apply the cream contour with the actual brush if you want to like dip it in there and then grab some of it and put it on. That works too. Sometimes if I feel like my nose contour is like a little harsh, I like to just go with what's still left on my brush. I like to just kind of go over it and disguise it even more, but it's still like there. So at this step, I would, if I'm feeling like it, I don't always do this, but you can go in with a little bit of highlighting here, I don't know, if you want to. Whoa, 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 I'm throwing stuff. This is something you can blend out with the same sort of brush, just really lightly. Now you don't have to do this, like if you really like that highly kind of contoured look where there's like a highlight and you know whatever, then this might be something that you want to do. You can even do this with very light concealer. At this point, this is where I go and move on to my eyes. So I'm taking the Urban Decay Naked Skin Color Correcting Fluid in Peach. And this is going to get rid of any of these bluish purple tones that I've got going on in the eye area. I typically get them like right there. And I have a vein over here that I just can't freaking hide. So just a little bit of that. There's all sorts of different color correcting products that you can use. I'll list them in the description box below. There's some drugstore ones that I like as well. I just really like that applicator. I think it's super easy as opposed to something like this that's just a little more difficult to get into. For this, I use a lot of different things. Sometimes I use a brush, sometimes I use the Beauty Blender. So I'm just gonna take the other side of the Beauty Blender and just lightly blend this out. I kind of go back and forth between the different concealers that I use. Like some weeks, like Shapeshifter doesn't work for me and it looks like patchy underneath my eyes. And then some days it works great. So you kind of just have to listen to your skin, and like your skin's always changing and doing weird shit. So today we're gonna try this out. This is Tarte's Shape Tape in Fair and Neutral. And I think a lot of people put too much concealer on, in my opinion. I'm almost 30 and I think less of it is better. Some people are just like, and it looks great on them. It doesn't look good on me. So I just put a little bit. I think less is more for concealer underneath the eyes, especially with the step of the color correcting that we've done. I'm gonna wet this little guy that I used yesterday. That side I used yesterday. I'm just gonna use it again. I don't actually know where this came from, but it worked really well for me the other day. So I'm just using tapping motions. You don't want to get too cakey under here. You don't want to apply too much. You don't want to use a dry beauty blender. And sometimes I use a brush as well. And I would just not apply too much of this because you can always go back and add a little more if you feel like you need to, but you don't want to have too much cake face underneath the eye area. And a lot of cake face under the eye area comes into play when you put powder on. So we'll talk about that when we get to it. Sometimes I like to go back to the Beauty Blender and kind of just like make sure those edges where the concealer was is kind of like undetectable. Right now is the step where you would want to apply a little bit more concealer over any areas that you're seeing come through a little bit. And for me, I'm seeing a little red mark right here. So I'm just taking a little bit of my foundation and just adding a little bit more of that. I've kind of never been a fan of like putting concealer over foundation for me, just because the consistencies are so different, and I've seen so many people just like you can see like right where they put more concealer on top of the foundation. So unless you have like a perfectly matching concealer, I'm not really a huge fan of that. So I just put a tiny bit of, I use my foundation like concealer, and I just put a little bit on there and we're good to go. So if you have any imperfections that you want to hide further, this would be the time to do that. You want to dab, dab, dab lightly, no wiping. Do not wipe. And I would not suggest using a brush for this either, unless it's a really nice fluffy brush or something like that. Like hard concealer brushes sometimes can be a little harsh and kind of move away the foundation. But if you are, just do really, really, really light taps. Now this next step is kind of where a lot of the cake will happen right now. So some people will try and go in right now and add like blush or contour, more powder contour or powder products for their cheeks right on top of foundation. You do not want to do that. If you add powder on top of your wet foundation, you're basically just asking for a muddy, cakey mess. Also, I suggest using a translucent powder for this step. If you use a translucent powder and dust it over your face, without using a super dense brush, that you don't want to do this with a brush, like a super dense brush. I'll show you what I consider a bad brush for powder, like something like this. I would never put powder on with this. Like, and I don't know, I can't even think of a time, maybe on camera if I was doing drag makeup or something, packing it on. But make sure you're not using a super heavy like foundation sort of powder that comes in like a compact and like putting that on there, and just definitely don't do this with powder. You don't want to do that. You're going to be moving away your foundation. So you know what I've been using lately that I've been really liking? It's the Cover FX Perfect Setting Powder. I use this under my eye area. I use this all over the face. I really, really like it. So since I've been talking, my under eyes have creased up just a tiny bit. I don't know if you can see that. Not much, but just going back in there with the damp beauty blender, gonna tap it out. Here too. Just so we're back where we started before we put powder on. This is the sort of fluffy brush that I would use for putting on powder. See how like it's very like malleable. It's not very stiff. It's really nice. I like to grab a little bit of the powder and dab a bunch of it off and then lightly press it in to my skin. The brush that you use for setting underneath the eye area and around the eye area in general, I think is really important. I really like this one because the way that it's shaped, it's really like soft. And I don't know if you can see all the powder coming out of it. I used it yesterday. The way that it's tapered allows it to just kind of like fit in there perfectly. And it's not too hard. You don't want to apply or use a super hard brush to apply your translucent setting powder. So this is a Morphe R3 brush, and I'm just gonna get some of the powder out of here on there and then kind of dab some of it off and just apply that. I'm using mostly tapping motions, like not sweeping it. And I usually like to apply a little bit more around my smile line area and right here. So here's what we have. It looks really good. The under eye area looks really good. It's not cakey. It just looks really nice and natural, not too matte. You're finished with your makeup and you've added like additional contour, blush, highlight, finished all of your makeup. The last step for creating a non-cakey foundation look that's gonna stay in place for you is setting spray. Now setting sprays, there are, just like with primers, so many different setting sprays depending on like what your skin type is and what kind of issues you have. So if you want to keep your face from getting oily and looking a little too dewy, you can use a de-slicking sort of mattifying setting spray. This is the Urban Decay De-Slick, so I'm just going to use this one. And you're supposed to only use like 2 pumps, but I use a lot more than that. And that's pretty much it. Those are all my tips, tricks, and my own personal foundation and contour routine. Let me know what you guys think. Have you guys ever tried contouring on top of foundation? And also let me know any things that you struggle with your foundation routine that I might have missed. I will go through the comments below and see if I can help some of you guys out and suggest more products that I maybe didn't mention. But definitely check the description box for everything used in this video, plus some other recommendations, and it will also be available on my vlog, which is linked below. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for hanging out and watching, guys. I will see you in the next video and on Snapchat, on Instagram stories as well.
Did you want some popcorn? Calvin, that's rude.
Look over here, yellow Santa Claus. We're about to...
bleach on my shirt, damn it. That looks bleach-esque.
I don't know.